Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our English podcast. I'm Emma.
And I'm James. We're so glad you're here today.
In this episode, we're going to talk about childhood. Childhood is such an important part of our lives, and it's full of memories, stories, and lessons.
Yes, and while we talk, you can practice your English listening skills. We'll use simple, clear sentences, and we'll also explain some new words along the way.
That's right. You'll learn how to talk about your childhood in English, share memories, and ask other people about theirs.
So let's get started with our conversation about childhood.
James, when you think about your childhood, what is the first memory that comes to your mind?
Good question. I think about my first day at school. I remember I was so nervous. I didn't know anyone, and I was holding my mother's hand very tightly.
Oh, I understand. Many children feel nervous on their first day. What happened after that?
Well, after a few hours, I made a friend. His name was Tom. We sat together in class, and we started playing during the break. That made me feel so much better.
That's a nice memory. For me, when I think about my childhood, I remember playing outside all the time. I grew up in a small town, so children were always outside, running, riding bikes, and playing games.
That sounds wonderful. What kind of games did you play?
We played hide and seek, tag, and sometimes football, but my favorite was hide and seek. I loved trying to find the best hiding place.
I also played hide and seek with my cousins. One time I hid in the kitchen cupboard and nobody could find me. After 10 minutes, my family started shouting, "James, where are you?" That's so funny. Did they finally find you?
Yes, my little sister found me. She was the youngest, but she was very smart. That's a great story. Childhood games really make life special. When I was about 7 years old, I also loved drawing. I would sit for hours with paper and crayons, making pictures of houses, trees, and animals.
Oh, so you were creative even as a child. Did you want to be an artist?
Not really. It was just for fun. But looking back, I realized drawing helped me to imagine new things. It also made me feel calm.
That's interesting. When I was a child, I wanted to be a pilot. I loved looking at the sky and watching airplanes. I thought it would be amazing to fly.
Wow. Did you ever try to follow that dream?
Not really. As I grew older, my interests changed. But as a boy, I always said, when I grow up, I want to be a pilot.
That's so cute. I think many children say that. Childhood dreams are very pure and full of imagination.
Emma, it's fun talking about our childhoods, but let's also ask our audience some questions so they can practice.
Good idea. So, dear listeners, here is my first question. What is your earliest memory from your childhood? Take a moment and think. Maybe it's your first day at school, like James, or maybe it's playing with friends or even a family trip.
Yes, and don't worry if your memory is simple. Even small memories are special. For example, I remember eating ice cream with my grandfather. That is not a big event, but it is still a strong memory.
Exactly. Now, here's another question. What games did you play as a child? Did you play football, hide and seek, or maybe video games? When I was a child, I mostly played outside, but some people may have grown up playing games on a computer or PlayStation.
That's true. I want to add another question. Who was your best friend when you were young? Think about that friend. What did you do together? Did you go to school together, play together, or share secrets? My best friend Tom and I loved building little houses with Lego blocks.
I like that question. Friends are a very big part of childhood. For me, my best friend was Anna. We lived in the same neighborhood, so we played every single day. We even made up our own games with rules that only we understood.
That sounds fun. Okay, let's ask another question. Did you have a favorite toy? For me, it was a toy car. I used to push it around the house and make engine sounds.
My favorite toy was a teddy bear. I carried it everywhere, even when we traveled. It made me feel safe. What about you, listeners? Did you have a special toy?
These questions are also a great way to practice speaking English. You can answer in simple sentences. For example, my earliest memory is going to the park with my parents. My favorite game was football. My best friend was Ollie. We played together every day. My favorite toy was a doll.
That's right. You don't need long, complicated answers. Simple, clear sentences are perfect for practice. And if you want to challenge yourself, you can add more details. For example, my favorite toy was a doll. I got it as a gift on my birthday, and I slept with it every night.
Yes, adding details makes your English stronger and more natural. So take a moment now, pause this podcast if you need, and try answering some of these questions out loud.
Remember, practice is the key. The more you talk about your childhood, the more confident you will feel when speaking English.
James, one thing I really love about childhood is the family traditions we had. They made my childhood feel so special. For example, every Sunday, my family had lunch together. My mother would cook, my father would tell stories, and my brothers and I would help set the table. It was something I looked forward to every week.
That sounds lovely. In my family, we had a tradition for birthdays. Every birthday, my mom baked a chocolate cake, and we would all sit together and sing. Even if the birthday was during the week, my parents made it feel like a holiday. I still remember the smell of fresh cake in the kitchen.
Ah, that makes me smile. Listeners, here's a question for you. Did your family have any traditions when you were a child? Maybe something simple like eating together on weekends, or something big like celebrating holidays in a special way.
Yes, traditions can be different in every family, and they don't have to be big events. For example, I remember every Friday night, my dad and I would watch a movie together. It was our little tradition, just the two of us.
That's wonderful, James. In my case, we had a holiday tradition. Every December, we decorated our house together. We would hang lights, play music, and drink hot chocolate. It wasn't just about the decorations, it was about spending time as a family.
That brings me to another childhood memory, school life. Listeners, let me ask you, what was your school life like when you were a child? For me, school was a mix of fun and learning. I enjoyed math, but I wasn't very good at spelling. My teachers were kind, but strict about homework.
I can relate to that. I loved reading stories at school. My favorite subject was English because I enjoyed writing little essays and poems, but I wasn't great at sports. I always felt nervous during PE class. What about you, listeners? Did you enjoy school? Which subjects were your favorite?
Yes, answering these questions can help you practice English in a personal way. For example, you can say, "My favorite subject was science." "I didn't like math." "I enjoyed playing football at school." "My teacher was kind and helpful."
And don't worry if your sentences are short. Short sentences are a great start. Later, you can add more details. For example, my favorite subject was science because I liked doing experiments. Or, I didn't like math because it was difficult for me.
Exactly. The more details you add, the more natural your English becomes. Another question, do you remember your first day of school? For me, I was nervous and shy. I didn't know anyone, and I cried a little. But by the end of the day, I made a friend, and everything felt better.
I remember my first day too. I wore a new dress and I carried a backpack that was almost bigger than me. I was excited but also scared. My teacher smiled and welcomed me, which made me feel safe.
So, listeners, now it's your turn. Take a moment and answer these questions out loud. Did your family have any traditions?
What was your favorite subject in school? Do you remember your first day of school?
Yes, practice saying your answers out loud. Speaking, even when you're alone, is one of the best ways to improve your English.
Emma, childhood isn't only about school and traditions. It's also full of funny and embarrassing moments, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'll share one of mine. When I was about 6 years old, I wanted to help my mom bake a cake. I thought I was being very helpful, but instead of adding sugar, I added salt. The cake tasted terrible. My whole family laughed, and I felt so embarrassed. But now it's one of my favorite stories to tell.
That's a good one. I have a funny story too. When I was a child, maybe 7 years old, I went to school wearing two different shoes. One was black, the other was brown. I didn't even notice until lunchtime when all my classmates pointed it out. I was so embarrassed at the time, but now I laugh whenever I remember it.
That's hilarious, James. Listeners, here's a tip. Embarrassing childhood stories are a great way to practice English. You don't need perfect grammar. Just try to explain what happened step by step. For example, you can start with, when I was a child, one day at school, I felt embarrassed because...
Exactly. You can use simple words and short sentences. Here's another small memory. Once, when I was about 8, I fell asleep during class. I even snored. When the teacher woke me up, the whole class was laughing. I wanted to disappear.
That's so funny, James. For me, another embarrassing moment happened at the swimming pool. I slipped on the floor and fell into the water with all my clothes on. Everyone looked at me, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry.
I think many listeners will connect with that. Childhood is full of these moments. So here are some questions for you, dear listeners. Did you ever do something funny or embarrassing as a child? Can you describe what happened? How did you feel in that moment?
Yes, and remember, don't worry about mistakes. Even if your story is simple, it's still good practice. For example, you can say, I fell in front of my class. I forgot my homework. I wore the wrong clothes.
And if you want to challenge yourself, add more details. I fell in front of my